like so
everyone knows about Honolulu.
Everyone knows
Honolulu. Hi, and welcome to the SaVeg podcast.
I'm Rose, also known as Cheap Lazy Vegan on YouTube.
And I'm Daniel, one of your favorite guest stars on Cheap Lazy Vegan's YouTube channel.
We're two friends who love to talk about the latest trending topics.
So get comfortable and join us while we give our SaVeg take on just about everything.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Are we ready?
We're ready.
For
We're
this
ready.
recordation.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm officially back.
Miss Holiday all the
Excuse me.
24/7.
So rude. I don't think so.
Do you actually work anymore, Rose? Or are you just retired now, or?
Guys, do you see the abuse? The call outs? You sound like a boomer, you know? You're not letting me enjoy my life.
I know,
Which
Rose.
reminds me, actually, I have another story I want to discuss.
Is it about boomers?
Yes.
And house prices and
how boomers think that, that millennials and Gen Z, they don't work.
I know. And also, what they also say too? It's like, they're always like, oh, well, if you guys didn't have all your like avocado on toast and your like coffees, you'd be able to buy a house. You'd be able to do all this shit. It's like,
if you canceled your Netflix subscription.
Exactly. Your Netflix subscription, which is like $15 a month. That's going to be somehow miraculously your down payment.
We'll discuss that in a second. But first, we have a few Patreon shout outs.
We do, guys.
If you guys don't know about our Patreon, it is patreon.com/thesavagepodcast. It's always linked below. And basically, you get ad-free content. So no ads, okay, whatsoever. You get all the episodes a week earlier than everyone else. And what else, Daniels?
And you get we do an exclusive monthly episode, and once you sign up, you get access to our all of our exclusive episodes. So there's quite a lot of content on there now. We've been doing this for a couple years.
Yeah. So if you're ever bored, it's the holidays, you got nothing to do.
There you go.
You can go and look through the archives.
Yeah, and you also get a shout out. So we're giving thanks to some new patrons that just joined our community. So we're saying hi and thank you to Beatrice,
Emily,
and Jesse.
Thank you for joining, you guys. Thank you so much for the support. Again, the link is below. Yep. And shall we jump in? In the show notes. All right, you guys are like, I was away. Yeah. I was in Hawaii. It was absolutely gorgeous. It was amazing.
Did you learn the...
No. But I seem to have strengthened my obsession with the, I would like to say, the New Zealand accent.
Was there a lot of Kiwis there?
No, not at all. But basically, I was with our friend Patricia. And I don't know what it, you know how we have this disease where we just switch to random accents.
It's a disorder.
It's a disorder. And then, so like, of course, when I was hanging out with Patricia, I started, spreading the disease. Oh God. And somehow the Australian accent seemed to stick, but then we like exaggerated it. And then it became kind of like
Kiwi.
I mean, I'm sure Kiwis would disagree that it's a Kiwi accent, but so now I don't know. It's a problem.
Oh, it is a real problem.
It's a real disease.
I'm actually currently in therapy for this to try to.
I think we need therapy.
Get myself out of this constant because I'll just do it randomly
but
too.
It's so fun.
It is, but it's like kind of like you'll just be talking to someone. You're like, no.
Yeah, I'm going to Honolulu.
I know. Honestly, when I was in Australia, guys, I was like worst.
It's the worst. You shouldn't be doing it when you're in the country.
Oh God, it was bad. Like literally at the wedding I went to, like all of the Aussie people there.
Did you realize you were doing it?
Oh yeah, I was making fun of them. They would say something and I'd be like, no, you're gonna go harm. And they're like, fuck you, Daniel. But they actually...
It's so funny, though.
I know. They just turned around and then they would be like, who invited an American to this wedding?
Oh, see, that's a good comeback.
I know. I was like, okay. Touche.
Well, they would just be like, oh, my God.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Like, God damn.
Like, we're going to the beach, right?
Yeah.
Right, babe?
Why is it, guys? Like, whenever anyone tries to do, like, any of my friends that are
Canadian or American accent.
Exactly. Well, they try to do Canadian, right? Because they're hanging out with me and they're like, I'm going to do a Canadian accent. And it always comes out like Valley girl from like California or something.
I think our accent, like our specific accent, is very like Western North American accent.
Yeah.
And we kind of sound slightly like Valley girl.
True. Actually, it's quite funny because I didn't notice this before because I used to think that I couldn't really tell the difference between like Toronto and like here.
Oh, there's a difference.
But there's honestly like so.
They have like a Canadian accent.
Oh yeah. When I was I had got some work done on my house today, and the person that came is from Toronto.
Right.
And I could tell right away when he was on the phone, I was like, this guy sounds like he's from Toronto.
Yeah.
And then he was like, yeah, I'm from Toronto.
Accent.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that kind of threw me off a little bit. I was like,
it's
what?
Quite interesting, isn't it?
God damn.
Yeah.
And we're from Berta.
We're from Berta.
Yeah. Land of the fucking conservatives.
Oh, god damn. Should I talk about Hawaii a little bit?
Tell us about Hawaii.
Before jumping into the Burma conversation.
Oh, god damn.
Well, first of all, I was in the Big Island. So if you didn't, so do you know much about the Hawaii Islands? Because
Nothing
I
at
didn't
all.
know anything until I actually went. The first time I went was like a few years ago. And I was in Oahu. So Oahu is one of the islands. That's like the main one. So Oahu is the island, and then Honolulu is like the one area of the island. That's like the famous
capital city, right?
capital.
Yeah.
Like, city.
Everyone knows about Honolulu.
Everyone knows
Honolulu. Actually, I kind of want to get my Aussie friend to voice note me to say Honolulu.
It's so funny.
Honolulu. Honolulu.
Okay, so yes, Honolulu is the capital or the main city or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's like the one that everyone goes to. But then there's also 3 other main islands. I think there's also smaller islands.
Yeah.
The Big Island, which I think is just called Hawaii, but people call it like the Big Island because obviously people refer to Hawaii as like the whole thing. So the Big Island, which is where I was at, and then there's Maui, obviously, and then there's Kauai. No, Kona is actually in Big Island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I know it's very confusing because like when you don't like, I didn't know any of this until I went this time. So first I was in the Big Island. I was staying in Kona on the Big Island, and then I was in Kauai. It's not cute.
That is
cute.
Kauai,
which is like another island.
Kauai,
and that one is like I think probably the more. Well, I haven't been to Maui.
Yeah.
But Kauai is so nice. Like it's like it's very like because it rains a lot there, so it's giving like rainforest slight vibes, and it's just very green and gorgeous. Like it's so nice.
Sounds nice as hell.
But I will say the vegan food in the Big Island is underwhelming at best. It's quite
disappointing.
Quite a lot. Anyway, Honolulu. Not Honolulu. Anyway,
Honolulu.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
Which the natives call Hawaii, was amazing. It was great. Very expensive. Yeah. I don't know. Like it's so nice though. But
do you feel well rested, Rose?
No, not at all. Not at all. No. It was definitely not a resting vacation.
I like Rose before Rose went. She was like, you know what? I'm going to be there for 2 weeks. You were gone for like 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's going to be like a working holiday, you know.
Well, I was going to work, but circumstances changed for reasons I will not discuss here. But
fair enough.
I barely worked, and we just kind of did a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of doing.
There's a lot of doing.
I saw a lot of turtles.
I saw the pictures.
It was so amazing. There's like this beach in Kauai, which is like a magical beach. Okay, so there's like
is that
turtles.
The one with the seals?
Yes, like the monk seals.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my god, because like I wanted to see monk seals and I wanted to see more turtles. I already swam with turtles in like the turtle beach. Oh god, Hawaii. But we got to like the beach and there's like monk seals just like laying there on the beach. And what they do is if there is like wildlife on the beach, they'll like kind of section it off so people don't get close to it.
Yeah.
So like they were just like taking a nap. And I thought they were like rocks. They look like giant rocks from afar. And because they're so lazy. Well, I don't know if they're actually lazy. They're just napping. But because they're like napping, they're like not moving. And they're like these big giant lumps. So I was like, no, those are rocks. They're like, no, those are monk seals. I was like, what the? And they're so cute because they'll like randomly like roll around.
Yeah. And they just look like big.
They just look like a giant like blubber. Just like.
Yeah. They're big chunks, but it's even funnier when you see them move.
Oh my god! I saw one of them like kind of like moving into the water a little bit, and I was like,
it's like it is the funniest thing ever.
Well, they're so cute, and then the turtles are just sat there, just chilling. Oh, it was so nice. Anyways,
a magical moment was had.
One day I'll go back, but the Canadian dollar is pretty bad right now, so maybe I'll wait until it's a bit better.
This is true.
Whew. The Americas, man, just. Guys, if you ever wanted to visit Canada, now's the time if you're in the States because the Canadian dollar is so shit. So you're going to have a lot of bargaining power. Bad? I think it's like 1.35.
Oh my God. No, it's not.
So like,
is it 1.35?
I'm pretty sure it is.
What in the hell?
It's at least 1.3. So it's between 1.3 and 1.35.
Let me look this up. Does this be crazy?
Yeah, I know.
Hell?
Just search like $1 Canadian or $1 US to Canadian.
1 USD to CAD.
And like Hawaii is expensive. So like everything I was already paying like, for example, for, what is it? 1.33. Yeah. And if you factor in like, cause I was like paying with credit card and the credit card usually adds like 2% or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm probably paying like 1.3, like more. It's disgusting.
Dang. How much money you spent on
Oh my God.
trip?
I don't want to know.
You haven't seen your credit card statement yet.
I haven't. But yeah, like and like a meal, like you could just go to like a takeout place and it would be $15 to $18 for like one thing.
It's crazy.
US dollars.
Yeah. But I think that's like in general, it's just gotten more expensive. Like the other day I was like being lazy and I was like, I just kind of recovered from being sick and I was like, I really just want some greasy food. I don't know why, but I was like, I'm going to get some KFC because they have that plant-based meal.
Yeah.
So I go down there and I just got a fast food, fast food fucking basic burger, fries, and a drink. Yeah. That's it.
And it's small now. The portions are pretty small.
Yeah. I could have like 2 of them easily.
Yeah.
It was $15.
Yeah.
I was like, this is crazy. $15 for fast food now?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Like I remember like I maybe this was like so long ago because like I don't eat at McDonald's anymore, but like I remember not Happy Meal. You could get like a meal deal for like $8.99 or something. Or like or $7.99.
I know.
Like,
it's like basically doubled.
Yeah.
And the problem is also we're gonna talk about this, but like groceries have just gone up they've just skyrocketed.
It's insanity.
So it's like I almost like I mean like KFC, I kind of blame them a little bit because it's like a big company.
Yeah.
Like smaller businesses, I can understand. Like I can kind of understand Hawaii prices because even the groceries were so expensive.
Right.
And I feel like they just ship everything, and it's like an island, so everything's probably just very expensive there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like these fast food places, it's like you could probably not charge that much.
Exactly. Well, there's that whole argument, and I think we'll get into it a little bit too, is like obviously they said, during COVID there was like supply chain disruptions and all of this stuff going on, and then they were saying like a lot of the retailers were saying, hey, and some of it's true, right? Like but they were saying obviously their costs have gone up to bring these goods and to ship, and supplier costs have gone up, so therefore that gets passed on. But there's the argument of like, okay, well, how much, like for example, like talking specifically about grocery store chains, but like let's say the cost of this bubbly to ship was $1 and now the shipping cost is $2, so it's increased by $1, but yet the price has gone up by $4. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't equate to, because they just said, oh, we're just like passing these on to consumers, like the cost of this increased supply chain. But then the question is like, how much of it was actually just the supply chain cost and how much of it was additional?
It was additional.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I guess we'll talk about this story first.
Let's get into it, Rose.
So
we read the title?
Yeah. So Canadian groceries. I'm sure this is the same.
Insane.
Yeah. This is the same with a lot of places, but I do feel like with Canada, the problem is, I don't know if it's because we have a low percentage of population or low population, but we have like certain industries that are basically almost like monopolies.
Yeah.
Or like, what are they called? Like, yeah,
like oligopolies.
Oligopolies, where only like maybe 2 or 3 major actors that own like all the grocery chains.
Yeah.
And similar thing happened, I think, with like cell phone companies. I think that was kind of fixed. I don't know exactly.
Well,
not fixed.
It's not permanently been fixed, but you're right. There has been more entrance into the market.
And also there's been more regulations,
yes,
I feel like.
Yeah.
So now what's happening, I don't know the full details behind this, but basically they're trying to pass like laws or legislation that would kind of, hold these people accountable.
But like before we get into it too much though, like this is one of the biggest issues with like capitalism or unfettered capitalism, just allowing these companies to, because you're right, there should be something in place that says, they're already making so much profit. There's a big issue when you have these grocery stores making record profits, and then at the same time we have more Canadians having to go to food banks than ever before and can't afford their groceries. Like that is fucked up on so many levels.
Exactly. So there is an article that says Grocery Code of Conduct launch paused over dissent from Loblaw Walmart. So Loblaw, which is like I think the biggest
Sobeys. Yeah.
Biggest Canadian grocery chain. They own Superstore.
Do they own Superstore too?
Yes, that's like the main thing. Loblaw is a Superstore, basically. It's like the same thing.
And Sobeys, I think too, right?
I think Sobeys as well.
And I want to say maybe No Froze, but I could be wrong.
They own like a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what I mean. Yeah. What does Loblaws own?
Because I think it's actually quite a lot.
So this is what we mean. And this is another issue with like capitalism. I know we always complain about capitalism, but like this is a huge issue with capitalism in that basically if you have money, right? You like if a giant company has money, they have the opportunity to go and buy out all of these other smaller companies, which is essentially it kind of defeats the entire purpose of what people say capitalism is about, because capitalism, technically, if you look at it from a very naive point of view, is about competition. It's about like competitiveness in the market. So based on the supply and demand, if your product is good, then people will buy it. There will be a demand for it. And then if other people are better at you than making the product, then they can outperform in the market. Yeah. And that's how better products are made, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. But then when you have situations, which is literally the truth of this is what's happening right now in the world, is that a few companies, we've talked about this before, but very few companies in the world, they will just buy out all of these other smaller companies. Exactly. Therefore, what is the competition? There's no competition when you're competing against another company that your main company owns.
Yeah. Oh my God. So they own everything.
Yeah.
So listen to this, huge guys.
Problem. So Loblaws is like the grocery giant. Yeah. That is under a lot of fire right now because they are participating in price gouging. Yeah. So name the companies.
Oh my God. So they do own No Frills. So No
Frills.
They own
Shoppers Drug Mart too?
Yes. Yeah. So Shoppers Drug Mart, No Frills, T&T Supermarket. I did not know that. Some of these I haven't heard of. Real Canadian, so Superstore.
Sobeys?
Sobeys.
Oh, no, Sobeys is with Safeway, I think.
Oh, right.
I don't know.
Sobeys isn't on here. Extra Foods, Atlantic Superstore, Dominion Stores, Fresh Mart, Maxi, President's Choice, Provigo. Like, there's just so much on here. Mm-hmm. Like, so it just shows you that one company owns all of that.
And you have to understand that, like, Loblaws is an actual grocery store as well. Same with Superstore. These are like the main grocery stores that most people shop at. Mm-hmm. Okay. So like in Canada, that's like the main one. I mean, Walmart as well, but I would say the two biggest ones are probably Loblaws / Superstore and Walmart. Yeah. And then No Frills is supposed to be like the cheaper version, I think. And then maybe like some people go to Safeway and Co-op. Yeah. Those are kind of like slightly higher income people. Yeah. So anyways, so basically they own like most of the market, I would say. So now they're trying to pass this like the government is trying to pass some kind of grocery code of conduct. And I just find it funny that somehow Loblaws and Walmart have a say in this, because
I know, that's weird.
That's like saying, okay, we're trying to pass some laws to legislate, I don't know, car safety. Yeah. And then the car companies are like, no,
we don't want to do it.
But it's like, but that's the entire point. Of course they don't want to do it.
Exactly.
Because they're violating the law.
And also they don't want to do it because it's going to negatively impact their profit.
But it's like they shouldn't have a say. That's called a conflict of interest.
This is the issue though. Like again, talking about capitalism, it's like capitalism works if there's a lot of competition in the market. But when you have these oligopolies that control everything, it's like they set the price. And there has been, over the last couple of years, I have noticed, and it's crazy because like I don't really buy that many groceries, so I'm just a single person. My grocery bill for sure has doubled.
I think so.
For sure. Like hands down. Like I go to the grocery store now, and even just grabbing a few things, which used to be like I would just grab a few little things here and there, and I'd spend like, I don't know, maybe $40-$50 at the most for like a handful of things. I can't go and spend less than $80 now.
Really?
Like every time it's like, and you think it's like little things?
You've eaten like a king?
Apparently. But it's even like little things. It's like, okay, a carton of mushrooms at Safeway used to be, I know, I think it used to be like $2.99. That's $3.99 or $4.50 now. So like that already, it's like doubled almost. Yeah. And each dollar sounds like a little bit, but once you add it up over tons of products,
it's so expensive.
It just gets crazy. Like I would like some tomatoes the other day. I bought a bunch of tomatoes and it was like, I don't know, $6 for these tomatoes. I was like, disgusting. Are you crazy? Like $6 here? Like
anyway. I look at when I go grocery shopping now, it's like when I look at produce, I always look at like what's on sale. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna buy what's on sale. Yeah. Unless I really need something. Yeah. It's like that's what I focus on. Yeah. Rather than like just buying things because I want to eat them. I'm like, okay, what's on sale? Well, I'll figure this out.
I do the same thing now. I like look for sales, or if there's any products like on sale that I use a lot, I'll buy a couple while they're on sale now. And I never used to do that. I used to just go to the grocery store, and I'm fortunate in a sense that like I just bought what I wanted.
Yeah.
You know, but now I'm like, oh.
I know, now I pay a lot of attention.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of groceries, so when I was in Hawaii, there were like, I was like in Walmart and stuff. I know I'm shopping at the Devil's, like whatever.
Yeah.
But oh my God, the prices. Block of tofu. Okay. Actually, Walmart was a bit cheaper. Oh, Safeway was, I can't even believe. So block of tofu at Walmart. This is like the cheapest.
Yeah.
$4
Oof.
USD.
That's insanity. And I thought it was a lot here.
And I know. I'm like, fuck. I was thankful to be back in Canada paying Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
And then when I was in Safeway, $5.99.
Oh my God.
I know. I was
it's insane because I remember when I first moved back to Canada in 2020, a block of tofu
was like $2.
It was $1.99. Yes. I remember this same block of tofu, guys, is now $3.99.
It's so bad.
It's insane. That's a $2. That's more than 100% increase.
I know. It's disgusting. Anyways, okay. So basically, I guess they've been trying to, you know, develop a code of conduct. And the group responsible says the launch is being held back by lack of support from 2 major grocers. I wonder why. I genuinely don't understand how their say has anything to do, but it's because they have so much power and money.
Exactly. And the thing that I don't get is like there was a really famous thing that happened in Canada where they actually held a bunch of the CEOs. I don't want to say accountable because nothing happened.
Yeah.
But a bunch of the MPs questioned them about these crazy food prices, and we're like, okay, guys, like again, and I'm sorry, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. Like if these are publicly traded companies, open your books. Let's see what your increased supply cost is and how much you guys have increased the price of the goods. It's pretty quick and easy to figure out how much of it was related to supply chain costs and how much of it was gouging Canadian consumers. It doesn't take rocket science. I could look at their books without being an accountant, without being in any of that kind of stuff, and I could see, okay, the price of this product that they're paying went up $1, but they increased it $5. Like it's not hard to see that. Like I don't know why they're not holding more accountability. But anyway, sorry, continue.
So I guess they're like at a standstill because they can't get the support from Walmart and Loblaws. So it says that there's a concern that without the full participation of all major grocers, the implementation of the code would create an unlevel playing field and put affected stakeholders at a competitive disadvantage.
But I'm they're saying
I don't understand. Like, what's the point of the code?
Exactly, because
I guess it's not like a law. Then that's the point. Exactly.
So it's not. It doesn't sound like it's legislation. Like what they need to do is they need to put legislation in. If it's a code of conduct, all the grocery stores are, and they've done this before. Remember that big scandal about the price gouging with the bread? Like, remember there was like a big thing.
Was there bread price gouging?
Yeah, there was like a weird thing that was going on where like, I can't remember the full story, guys, but like a bunch of the grocers were like kind of colluding together and they had like increased the bread by a lot.
Yeah.
And then they had to like cut back, or I can't remember exactly what happened, but there was like a lot of scandal around it. This code of conduct, like you don't think that the CEOs of all these grocery stores are like having dinner together and like fucking talking about this shit? Of course they are. Like, it's not like rocket science here.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by Complement. Complement Essential is the ultimate multivitamin made for and by plant-based eaters.
Optimize your health with the 8 critical vitamins, minerals, and omega-3s. Proven hard to get through a plant-based diet alone, all in one easy-to-take capsule.
I've been taking Complement Essential for months now, and it makes it so easy to make sure I'm filling in all my nutrient gaps.
If you're looking for the multivitamin for plant-based eaters, make sure to check out Complement Essential.
Go to lovecomplement.com. That's LOVECOMPLEMENT.com and use code SaVeg Podcast, SAVEG Podcast, to get 15% off your order and save even more by subscribing so you never miss taking your vitamins. Be sure to check out their other awesome products like vegan protein powder, gut nurture, and daily greens.
Once again, that's lovecomplement.com and use the code SaVeg Podcast to save 15% off Complement products.
Thank you so much to Complement for supporting this podcast.
Thank you.
I know it's so basically it's intended to, this is why it's intended to be industry led, but the industry has failed to meet the moment. I don't know what that means. But yeah, so essentially they've paused the efforts because Loblaw and Walmart are unwilling to sign it and can't start recruiting. So of course, no one, like, who wants to do it if Loblaws and Walmart are not going to do it? Because they already have the competitive advantage in the market.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, these other grocery stores.
It's quite funny. What we're faced with now is no consensus and a failure to achieve what industry has told us they would achieve without government intervention. To say this is disappointing would be an understatement. So I guess the industry had said, like Loblaws, Walmart, all of these guys have said, look, we're going to come to some kind of consensus and we're going to be able to do this without government intervention. Right. So that's probably why this code of conduct has come up.
Right.
But now the government's probably going to be like, okay, well, we're going to have to take.
Well, we'll see if the government does that.
But it says we're actively examining all available federal options. That includes legislation.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
But this just shows you again how fucked up capitalism is, because like how messed up is it that these grocery stores can't get together and you know what, be like, and it's because again, at the end of the day, their whole corporate structure is to deliver results for shareholders, right? And that is profit all the time. So any like change to that, and they're just not going to do it. Like,
I know.
They're going to dig their heels in.
It's just so
until
crazy.
They're forced.
It's so crazy. I don't understand. People are just so selfish.
It's crazy to me. Like, I mean, they're already making billions and billions of dollars.
And people are not getting enough food.
I know. That's what's so fucked up, guys. It's like this industry is making billions of dollars and there's people that are struggling to buy fucking groceries. Like, it's so wrong. I don't understand.
I know. It's really bad. But anyway, so there's that.
Yeah.
That's fun. If you guys haven't noticed, I'm a bit sick, so please bear with me.
God damn.
I might get Daniel sick.
Again.
Okay, Daniel, now I want to talk about one story. So, I mean, I guess this is a bit old, but
let's talk about it.
I want to talk about it. So, because speaking of boomers, today's boomer that we're going to name and shame is Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, and I love Whoopi.
I know she's a little disappointing.
I know.
I think she got old, and when you get old, you get kind of old and rich.
Set in your ways.
Yeah, you're old and rich.
Yeah.
You're living in Hollywood. You're a little bit out of touch with reality. Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, she is one of the hosts on The View.
Yeah.
And she made some comments. Okay, I didn't see the whole segment, but basically she said something like, if you only want to work 4 hours, it's going to be hard for you to get a house. Mm-hmm. So essentially saying what a lot of boomers have been saying, which is Millennials and Gen Z are essentially not working hard enough. Yeah. They don't want to work. And so don't complain about not being able to buy a house because you don't want to work. So, so let's read the article here.
Okay.
You can go ahead.
Okay. So hang on. Whoopi Goldberg has the been labeled out of touch in an episode. Where does it say?
So it says that all these people discussed whether the younger generations are financially worse off than their parents when it comes to buying a house or having children. I mean, this is fact.
I know, but before we even dive into this article, guys, this is what's so crazy to me, because I've seen a few of these on TikTok as well, just other, other boomers, and it is so crazy to me because I've actually seen people crunch the numbers and do everything.
It's such factual numbers.
Exactly. It's like you see any graph, you see anything. The cost of living has exponentially gone up versus wages, real wages and everything else, and including houses. And our grandparents or our parents' generation might argue like, oh, well, interest rates when I got a house was like 18% or something crazy, But when you actually crunch those numbers, even with that 18% or whatever, 11% interest that they were paying on their mortgage, they're actually still were better off, even on a lower salary, everything else. Like it was all relative, right? Like, they made less money than we do now probably, but like in real terms of like what you can buy, it's the data is irrefutable.
It is clear, which is why I don't know why they're debating this. Like, I think we can debate, like you can debate, oh, like maybe our generation does work less or whatever the fuck, which is not true, but we can get into that. But it's like so stupid to debate something that is like just true. Like financially, it is true that if you factor in, how much people are making versus how much homes are, it is very clear that the percentage of income is much like the homes are just so much more expensive now.
It's gotten crazy. I mean, I look at even my parents, like when they got their first house. Their first house was an attached house in a pretty decent area, 3 bedrooms, like living room, kitchen, 2 bathrooms, an undeveloped basement, and they paid like I want to say like $110,000 for that house. Like, and that was 20 something years ago. That same house now would be like $400,000, $450,000.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's just like, you look at some markets like Toronto and Vancouver where your average house price is like $800,000. When
I think it's more, isn't it?
Probably closer to $1 million.
I think it's like $1 million.
So if you have an average house price of $1 million, and then the average salary of a Canadian is like $46,000 a year, even with two people, the combined income of two average Canadian home earners would be $100,000. If your average house price is $1 million, like you won't even fucking qualify for that.
Yeah.
Like it's out of reach for people.
Yeah.
Even with help from family members and stuff, it's still going to be super hard to get into that housing market.
Yeah. Like it is possible. And like, don't get me wrong. Like a lot of my friends, like we've bought, I mean, we didn't buy homes. We got condos.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I mean, most of my friends have bought at this point. We don't live in Toronto or Vancouver.
Yeah, that's a thing.
But and it is possible. Like, don't get me wrong, it is possible. And also, not to mention, we're all in our 30s now versus like 20s. You know, our parents maybe bought their homes in their 20s.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible, but to say that, you know, we're not worse off financially is a lie. Like, you know,
I think it's possible, but what you have to remember is like the difference between when our parents bought a house and when we bought a house is like our mortgages, for example, are way higher. As a percentage of our income, we are paying so much more for our housing costs than our parents ever did.
Yeah,
and
for
what that equates to is that means we're putting less money into our retirement fund. We're putting less money into like TFSAs, into like investments because we can't afford to. Like we have so much of our income going to housing that we actually don't. And so when we go to retire, like what's that going to look like? You know, like there's so many knock-on effects.
Yeah, I do think that there's definitely differences in generations in terms of how we spend our money, for sure.
Yeah.
I do think like also it's because of capitalism has led us to, you know, want to travel more, want to do all of these other things, which I think is great.
Yeah.
But also like that's part of what you designed. You created products. The whole point of capitalism is to get people to buy products, to spend money on services and goods. And that's what we did. You know, you created the system that we are now living in.
Well,
so you can't blame us for wanting to get the avocado on toast.
Yeah.
For wanting to travel, for wanting to do these things.
But also I think go to that point though too, because you know how a lot of the boomers argument is like, oh, you know, they just need to stop, travel less, do less of this.
And then what's going to happen to the economy?
Exactly. But then also think about it, like part of the reason why some people, you know, indulge more in like takeout and avocado on toast and all this stuff is because they're earning $50,000 a year, and you know their possibility to get a house when the average house price is $1 million.
So they've given up on the idea.
Exactly. They're like, I'm going to be renting forever. There's no point. I'll keep saving.
Why save?
But exactly. And you get to this point where it's like, especially if you're slapped with, you know, now tuition to go to school is so much more expensive. So you have huge student debt.
Yeah, that's another factor.
Also in the workplace, it's like, you know, there's a lot of competition now. Like a lot of people are educated. It's hard. Like, especially right now, the job market is so bad, like for people looking for work and stuff. So like, it's just made it for such a bad situation for everybody.
And then like this kind of keeping up with the Joneses sort of environment that we all grew up in, you know, like, you know, you got to get the nice house and the nice car and the nice phone. And that's all stemmed from this whole like capitalistic sort of system, right? It's like they didn't necessarily grow up with late stage capitalism where we are fed all of this information like that. We need all this stuff.
Exactly.
And so, we're all going to get the stuff because it's like, you know, we got to keep up with the Joneses. Like, what are we supposed to do? So it's like, we're going to get the fucking, you know, we're going to get the manicures. We're going to go in.
Well, think about this too. Even like a phone, like a cell phone now, like a new phone is like
it's like
$1,500.
$1,500. Yes.
It's insane.
But then it's like, oh, you can choose not to have it. Like, sure. But it's like, would you choose not to have it? You know, like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
If the same systems were in place when they were growing up, they would do the exact same behavior as us.
Exactly.
It's because of the systems that have it. Like, we grew up in a very different world.
Yeah.
And they would have, again, it's human nature. They would have the exact same behavior. It's not that their behavior will be, it's just, the environment has shaped how we behave. So boomers aren't, like we just work harder.
Yeah.
No,
work harder.
You would do exactly the same thing that we do.
Exactly.
You just grew up in a different generation.
Well, and so Whoopi goes on to say, apparently Millennials and Gen Z have a much different view of the American dream than past generations.
Well, yeah.
Data shows that soaring inflation, student debt, and limited room for advancement in the workplace has made them feel that milestones like affording a home, starting a family, excelling within the corporate structure are out of reach.
Well, also, let me also make a mention of this. And also the fact that we don't necessarily see those things as necessarily accomplishments. That's another factor, right?
Yeah.
Because back in the day, that was the only thing that was deemed as success.
Yeah.
Buying a home, starting a family, you know, becoming a corporate fucking, you know, what do you call it? A machine.
Yeah.
a lot of people now reject the notion that that is what is required to be happy, because that's actually not what is required to be happy. Some people are happy doing that, and that's great. But a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to start a family. I don't want to buy a home. I'd rather have the freedom of traveling. So people have different options now. That's another factor.
Exactly.
Continue.
And then she goes, so she says this, but then she goes, does every generation feel this way at some point? She asked her co-stars. I say yes. So she's like saying as if like every generation is like, oh, we're worse off than the generation before. We have harder things. But that's so not
true.
I know. And
my parents didn't feel like that about their generation. Yeah. My parents came from their parents came from extreme poverty. Yeah. Like that's not like
our generation, like being in the millennial kind of age group. Our generation statistically now is, when you look overall at the overall picture, we're the worst off. We're the first generation in the last while that's worse off than the previous one.
Right.
So like financially,
so basically our parents' generation in North America anyway, had it like the best, because they had the biggest kind of. They were in the kind of, what do you call it? The rise of capitalism.
Yeah. Well, and I would say even the grandparents as well. Like the grandparents and then even a little bit before that, but like the grandparents and then the parents. And then now for us, it's like, we just, it's like, I look at my parents, like none of them, like my parents have like decent jobs, but they're not like super high earners or anything. Right. And they were able to have like 2 vehicles. Right. Support 2 kids.
The American dream.
Yeah. And for a while, like my dad was the only one working. Like, and they were able to buy a house. Like that just doesn't happen anymore. Like you just physically can't do that. Right. Even now, my parents were saying like the house that they're in now, like, cause they're both working and stuff. They're like, if we were trying to enter the market now, we wouldn't be able to afford this house. It's the same with like my aunt and uncle in London. Like their house is beautiful and they've done a lot of work and they've worked really hard to get to that stage. But they said, both of them were like, they're like, if we were moving to London now to buy a house on the current salary that we're on, we wouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah. And also remember that, you know, now in order, like there are people that are able to buy homes and do all this stuff, but that requires so many things, right? Like you have to have a good education, get a good job. Both of you probably need to be working.
Yes.
Unless one of you makes a significant amount of money. So it's not like, it's like back in the day, you could just be a regular ass worker and do all those things. Whereas now you kind of have to be in like a top 10% situation, which is hard to do. So like, yes, like our friends may have, you know, homes and stuff, but I also do realize that they are kind of, you know, we're all university educated. Yeah. Whereas back in the day, you didn't have to be university educated.
Well, think about this. Like you could have back when my parents bought their house, both, like, for example, if you had 2 parents and they're both working at like a minimum wage job.
Oh, you
could buy a house.
Yeah, you could have a good home and you could
work
your
crazy
way. Exactly. Like that was possible.
Yeah, but now it's definitely not.
Especially in Canada, you know, like I think it's getting worse and worse. Like
it is,
you know, it was possible. Like you could make minimum wage, and if you worked hard and saved, and you know, lived a frugal life, like you could live a decent life, like not fucking extravagant.
Of course, yeah.
But I think it's ridiculous that people are thinking like, oh, like every generation has felt this way. Like, that's just not true.
It's so
like,
ridiculous.
What are you talking about? It says, let's see. So Farrah Griffin, who is a millennial, okay, I don't know who this is, explained that her generation has been negatively impacted by certain socioeconomic events like 2008 crash, 9/11. I don't think these are necessarily the reasons necessarily that the millennials are worse off, but okay, that's part of it. She claimed that 45% of people ages 18 to 29 live with their parents, and admitted that some of her fellow millennial friends have put having children on hold until they reach financial milestones, which I think is fair.
However, Whoopi had a different take on the debate. Every generation comes and wants to do better than their parents did. Every generation. But I'm sorry, if you only want to work 4 hours, it's going to be harder for you to get a house.
Who only wants to work? Okay.
Exactly. Who's working only 4 hours, first of all? Like, fuck that.
We all want to work 4 hours.
Yeah, I would love to.
But who is working 4 hours?
In reality, who's only working 4 hours? In reality,
no one is working 4 hours and thinking that they want everything. Okay? Like, we're talking about people that are working full time most of the time, and they're saying, well, I can't afford to buy a house.
It's crazy to me because like I don't even know how this is still in a debate, because like, you know, when the numbers are there and the numbers don't lie, like you can literally look this up, guys. There is stats after stats after stats as to why this generation is worse off financially for a number of reasons. Like this shouldn't even be a debate anymore. It's not like, oh, you're only wanting to work 4 hours. Well, that's not what the data is saying. The data is not talking about how long people are working. It's saying,
and of course nobody wants to work.
Exactly.
Like I hate this like argument that it's like, oh, these
lazy.
people, they just don't want to work. I'm like, who wants to work? Do you actually want to work? Like, most people would rather not work. If you could choose not to work, most people would choose not to work. But most people are working. Like, that's so stupid.
I know, it's such a stupid. Oh, it pisses me off.
Whoopi, we loved you. Come on now.
I know.
We busted our behinds. Okay, so Whoopi says, we busted our behinds. We had to bust our behinds because we didn't have the option of going back. What does going back mean? Going back to like worse times?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like people are working. Like, what do you want us to do?
Oh, there's a bunch of comments. Many social media users have labeled Goldberg out of touch, which I agree. She's like, I love Whoopi, but folks who are still talking about millennials don't work are out of touch. Like, y'all, we're 40. One person wrote on Twitter. Does she know that millennials?
Maybe she thinks we're like 20.
I know. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, does she know that millennials are in our 30s and 40s, and most of us have 2 or 3 jobs just to scrape by? Yeah. Whoopi sat up here and told a generation to just work harder, as if we're not all perpetually exhausted from working nonstop while seeing zero progress. Also, does it look like I have to freeze my eggs money?
That I have freeze my eggs money.
Oh yeah.
So basically, and also you can also look at the data that I think that something like workplace productivity has also gone up significantly, and it doesn't match the salaries. Yeah. So essentially what's happening is more and more people are working, because if you think about it as well, Whoopi's generation, like a lot of women didn't, like we talked about, a lot of women did not work, right? Because either they couldn't, or the expectation is that they stay home. So think about that in terms of, now most women are working. Okay, most adult women are working, I think, like people my age. Yeah. I don't know anyone. I know very few people that are like stay-at-home moms, right?
Yeah,
like,
I don't know anyone that's
like mom. Everyone's still working. So think about that in terms of productivity and how many more people are working. So it's working. Like, I don't understand. Like, most people are working, and the increase in productivity has not caught up with the increase in wages, which means the increase, the amount of money that comes from the increase in productivity has gone to shareholders, CEOs, and people at the top. So it has not trickled down to the workers, my friends. So it's just like, come on, Whoopi.
I know. Well, I mean,
come on, Whoopi.
I know. It's crazy. It is actually crazy. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
I don't know why people, like, I can understand to some degree that, of course, like, I think every generation will like look at the next generation and be like, these people aren't working. Yeah, so
they had it easier than we did.
They had it easier.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, you have to understand that the numbers, they kind of speak for themselves.
Exactly. And actually, I think maybe that's starting to shift too, because I think the generation after us, like the generation that's younger and coming up, I have no qualms or thoughts in my mind that they have it easier than us. Right. In terms of like, because I think about like even my like cousin's generation, right? Like, so one of my cousins went to uni. Well, a couple of them did. And when one of my cousins went to uni, it was £3,000 a year. Right. And it was a 3-year program. My next cousin was a couple years younger. Right. And they had a huge increase. And I think
it was like £9,000.
£9,000 a year.
It was like within... Again, this is like the year after.
Yeah, it was crazy. So one of my cousins ended up paying like so much more for university.
Which is so crazy.
And that's now the standard, right? So like, for example, I think about our generation, like we both went to university and it wasn't that expensive. Like it was still, but it was like, I think each year, so each semester, I think I probably paid like 2,500 Canadian. That's what I remember paying as well. So like $5,000 Canadian dollars per year. So and now it's like, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it's significantly higher.
Yeah. So I'm in no thought that like the younger generation, I'm like, number one, like we both bought places, but like I feel like we also got in the market at a good time because prices again are going up still. So I'm like, a new young person trying to get into the market, forget about it. Starting salary, you go to university, finish your degree, have a mountain of student debt, and your first job might be like 50, 60K a year. Yeah. Plus you have huge student loans to pay off. Like, yeah. That's just you're always going to be like in this perpetual, like, it's kind of fucked up.
It is really fucked up. And I think that's also why like maybe people just don't grow up as fast, because they're just like relying on their parents because they have to, like, like you kind of just have to. Yeah. Well, back then you kind of have to just go out on your own and like make it on your own.
You moved out at like 18. Whereas now it's like, for example, I lived with my parents for a long time.
Yeah, me too. Like,
because it was expensive.
I mean, normalize living with your parents. Like, I don't know. Like, it's weird. Like, this whole thing is weird.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so Whoopi, you're out of touch.
Come on, Whoopi.
We're going to switch gears, guys.
Okay, we're going to switch gears to, oh God.
I'll fix it next time.
So we're going to talk about Matthew Perry.
Guys,
I'm so sad.
I know.
So we found out the toxicology report, and it revealed that the cause of death was actually acute effects of ketamine. So essentially, you guys might know Matthew Perry. Obviously, he played Chandler Bing on Friends.
Oh my God, Chandler Bing.
That was so bad.
I know.
Oh, I can't do it. Oh my God, Chandler. Chandler Bing. I can't do it.
Oh God.
So Matthew Perry, he died. I think it's been a month now, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So he died in his hot tub. So
more than a month, I think. October 28th.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So he was found unresponsive in his home, lying face down in the hot tub.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was like, oh my God, hot tubs, like it's crazy.
Because you know the thing with hot tubs as well is like if you like you can easily but you can die in a hot tub. Like you can just like fall asleep.
That's why they say like if you have health issues, if you have like respiratory problems or whatever, probably don't go in a hot tub, especially not supervised.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I always think like it's important to like anytime you're going like swimming or doing things that involve water, like hot tubs.
You gotta be really careful.
But also just be with somebody else. Like do it with. I know sometimes like some people live alone and shit, but like I just feel like it's really important to like have somebody around.
I think so, especially if you have health issues. So anyways, so Matthew Perry, so basically I guess they did the toxicology and they found that he had really high levels of ketamine. So I saw a few videos on TikTok about this, and this guy that's like a doctor basically said, so essentially what had happened was, I guess he was on ketamine treatments like before, or like he's been on ketamine treatments that were medically supervised, right? And I guess it was for like depression and maybe anxiety or something like this. But they said that like ketamine like leaves the system pretty quickly. So essentially the amount of ketamine in his system wasn't from the medically supervised amounts. So essentially he was taking the ketamine for himself, which I mean, it's not too surprising because he's been struggling with addiction and he's been open about it. He's been saying
he's a yo-yo, right?
He's been saying it as well. Like he's been very open about his like experience and constantly like, getting sober and like, relapsing and constant relapsing. And I guess it would be so hard if you were medically on a drug and it was medically supervised, but then it's in your system. So it's like,
but I think this is the issue. And this is like kind of like digressing a little bit, but like the whole opioid crisis that happened in the US, like people were medically prescribed, medically supervised opioids, which are very strong medication.
But then they get addicted to it.
Exactly. And then their body starts craving it. They start to go into withdrawals, all that sort of thing. I'm not sure about like what ketamine is like. I've heard like it is a party drug as well. Some people use it for getting high. And essentially like, I guess it's like a horse tranquilizer or something. I think.
Yeah, something like this.
Yeah. So it's like quite a powerful.
You can use it as like a, like medical treatment.
I know. I just really feel like the doctors need to be more.
I know it's
like,
a problem.
Yeah, like more not knocking the use of any of these substances, but like I think more work needs to be done in terms of like the levels that they're giving people, all that kind of stuff, especially for like highly addictive substances.
And even just like the utilization of too much drugs.
Exactly.
Right?
Like it's like I have a shoulder ache. Okay, here's some drugs.
A drug. It's like it's never about fixing the actual problem. And there's a time and a place for sure for drugs, but like I do think we are over drugged. So it says Perry had been receiving ketamine infusion therapy for depression and anxiety, with the last treatment being like a week and a half before his death. So they said that like, again, that would have been out of his system. Yeah. So essentially they're saying that he was on it. And then the doctor that was talking on TikTok, he basically said the amount that was in his system is basically like the amount that you would use for like anesthesia. So it's like, it was like a lot. Yeah. So like, and apparently that amount alone, like could have been, so we don't know exactly, like it could have been that it was the ketamine itself that just like killed him. Okay. Or it could have been the combination of the ketamine, the high levels of ketamine while he's in this heat that could have killed him. Or it could have been that he passed out from the amount of ketamine and then he drowned. Yeah. So like the ketamine had to be there essentially is what people are saying.
If he wasn't misusing the ketamine,
oh God, it's so sad.
He would be.
Yeah. But I think it's sad that when people are just like being so judgmental about, like, oh, like he was on drugs, like, and it's just like, okay, I don't think people understand.
I think that the biggest thing, and it fascinates me, like it does fascinate me how, like the complexity and the nuances of addiction, like, and how, you know, because you hear this time and time again where people get sober, they relapse, they get sober again, they relapse again, they get sober. Like, it's this constant battle. And, you know, you hear about these stories of like, and this is not just like, you know, Matthew Perry, but it's like, you know, mothers, for example, or even fathers, like they have kids, they have families, and then they end up down this path of like serious addiction. And they really, really struggle to get out of it, even for their family and stuff. And so there's something going on, because a normal, like, I don't want to say they're not normal, but like normally that wouldn't be a human response. Like, you'd want to be with your family and spend time with them. So obviously, like, there is some serious like strength of what these do in your brain to cause you to isolate yourself from your family.
And constantly go back to it. Even when you've been talking about it publicly for so long, and like you obviously want to get better and you obviously want to get sober, but it's like it must be just, I don't know, like
the grips must be so strong.
It's so strong.
Like, it must be
especially for some of these people. It's like for Matthew Perry, he's been talking about this since fucking Friends, like since the beginning of Friends. Like, basically he's been struggling with this, and that's what killed him essentially, I guess. Like, it's like, you know, the fact that he had to keep doing these drugs, and oh god, bless Yari. It's like really sad. So the trace amounts of ketamine were found in Perry's stomach, but the coroner said high levels of the drug were found in his blood. So 3.54 milligrams per millimeter. I don't know what that means, or micrograms per milliliter. Sorry. These levels led the medical examiner's office to conclude that the Perry's cause of death was not from his prior infusion therapy, because the drug's half-life is just 3 to 4 hours. So it was taken in another matter. Obviously, that's another thing with like having so much money, is that you can just have access to so much of the stuff.
Exactly.
Like
whatever you want, whenever you want it.
So it's like, that's another thing with like being rich and famous. It's like, you know, you think it's fun and games, but if you have something like addiction, I think that's like, I mean, I guess some people that don't have money, they just become homeless and stuff because they just spend all their money on. Like, anyway,
it's crazy because I watch I watch this show Intervention sometimes.
Oh God,
and
you love that show.
It's not that I just find it fascinating, like just the stories and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, it's crazy. Like, these people are talking and they're like, they spend like $2,000 a week on drugs.
They just like don't care about anything else.
No, and they like end up like prostituting themselves, doing all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't normally do, right? Like, you just wouldn't do that unless you're gripped in the.
Oh God, it's so sad. This reminds me of like there was another, like, have you heard of DJ AM? Have we talked about this? So DJ AM was like this kind of famous, like, he was like a celebrity DJ. He dated like Nicole Richie,
right? Okay.
For like a long time. So he was like known in Hollywood. He was very famous, and he was very famous for his like he had major drug addiction issues. And he got clean, he got sober, and I think he was sober for years, or at least like, you know, like publicly clean for years. And then he was like he was again like kind of similar to Matthew Perry. He talked about addiction a lot. He was trying to spread awareness about his addiction, and he started this TV show, and it was about helping teens with addiction.
Right.
So he would like, you know, maybe it was similar to Intervention or something, where he was like helping them with addiction and trying to get clean. And then he was found soon after the show started. He overdosed. Because I think he was just like, again, just being around. Maybe, you know, people doing drugs. That could have been a trigger.
A trigger for sure.
God, like
it's wild.
It's so sad.
It's wild to think that something would have a grip on you so much that you couldn't say no.
Even though if you knew, it could probably like, kill you. And
I'm
stuff.
like, this is so fucked up. I don't want to do this anymore. I really don't want to do this, but it has that like effect.
I know,
where
it has
like,
that grip on you.
It's kind of crazy,
and it's like a substance.
Ooh.
It's crazy. It's very sad. Anyway, so now we know. It's so sad. This is hard.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Addiction sucks.
Oh, Matthew Perry.
God damn.
Chandler.
Bing.
Okay, so I want to talk about this for a second. Speaking of drugs.
Speaking of other drugs.
So this isn't really like a story, but like we've talked about Ozempic before.
Yeah, we did.
Which is originally was used as a diabetes drug, and it still is a diabetes drug. But people have been using it for weight loss, and it has become
the miracle drug of weight loss.
Everyone is taking it for weight loss. Because, and the recent people that I've seen on social media, and the thing is, of course, we always see celebrities losing weight, gaining weight. It's a normal thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen kind of like over the last a year or so, the amount of people that have lost significant amounts of weight, like it is unbelievable. There's a bunch of influencers that have been there's speculation that they're on Ozempic.
Yeah.
Because like, again, they've just like randomly just lost like 40 pounds in like a few months.
Yeah.
And it's like happening by like multiple people.
Yeah.
The celebrities I've seen in the last like few months that have lost significant weight. Kelly Clarkson.
Oh.
Right now, look her up.
Okay.
She claims to have lost, I think it was like 80 pounds in like 2 or 3 months. Like insane amounts of weight. Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah's been known to be like a yo-yo.
Yes,
though.
but
she like
look at her recently.
Okay.
But that's another thing. It's like people that have had like kind of, again, you can lose weight naturally for sure, but it is very suspicious when all these rich people in Hollywood that have carried this weight for years.
Oh my God.
Right? See,
my God.
That's not natural. Like, I'm sorry. Especially when this miracle drug that people are using now has come out, and all of a sudden, all of these celebrities that have had stubborn weight just happen to drop it so easily. Christina Aguilera as well.
Yeah.
Look at Kelly Clarkson. Yep. And she's been carrying that weight for years.
She's been, because I remember I went to her concert when she was here in Calgary,
and she was
bigger.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
I think like you should, do whatever you want, but they're not saying it.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of weird. I think I would just say it.
I mean, I don't see what the big deal is.
I'd be like, yeah, I'm on Ozempic. That's how I lost weight. Is it like shameful?
I don't know.
I mean, people have plastic surgery.
This is true. I think the thing about Ozempic, I guess I have a couple questions about it. It's like, do you have to continually take it?
I think so.
Because it's like an appetite suppressant or something, right? Like basically it just like stops you from eating as much.
Well, I imagine like it is possible if you like take it for a bit, and then I don't know if it like spikes your appetite though after you stop taking it.
Yeah.
That could be a side effect because usually that's what happens with these types of weight loss drugs.
Right.
Once you stop taking it, the problem is if your appetite just goes back to normal, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Because then you could probably just maintain a certain level of weight loss.
Right.
But if it spikes your appetite, then you're probably just going to binge and you're just going to gain it back.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen like side effects. People say they get like nauseous.
Yeah. Or
like, I think the main side effect or the main thing though is that they just lose their appetite completely. Yeah. Which is like very unhealthy as well.
I know. Like I don't think anytime there's like a miracle cure or a miracle thing, I'm always like hesitant and questioning it because I'm like, obviously like this cannot be healthy. Yeah. Like for you to just take some kind of drug that just suppresses your appetite completely. Yeah. Like, I don't know, like it's, if you need it, for some people, maybe it will help them get to a healthier weight. So like, for example, if they like lost, cause like Kelly Clarkson lost so much weight.
Okay. But I need to show you Christina Aguilera because that's Christina Aguilera.
That's insane.
And someone's like, is that really you? Like, come on now. Like,
holy shit. That's crazy.
And the thing is though, I think if I was a celebrity, I would be tempted to take it.
Of course.
Because it's like everyone around you is taking it. No one is talking about it.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting like fucking skinny.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, well, I might as well take it.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah,
guys.
I don't know what the long-term,
What are the long-term effects of it? Also, does it fuck up your appetite, like even after you get off of it? Because like some of these.
You probably do. Let me look.
When you like yo-yo and do all that, these people that like, because I've had friends that have yo-yoed like a lot, where they'll like go on these extreme diets and they'll lose like a shit ton of weight and then they gain it all back and more when they come off this diet. And like they're just all over the place. And I just feel like it just fucks up your metabolism to the point where like you actually, I don't know, your metabolism's fucked and you can really, really have a hard time.
It says, what happens to your body when you stop taking Ozempic?
Yeah.
It says, when you stop taking Ozempic, you may notice some immediate effects, like an increase in appetite or blood sugar levels. Most people gain back most of the weight that they lost while taking Ozempic. Interesting.
This is what I mean. It's not sustainable.
Yeah. But research shows that you may still get some heart health benefits even after stop taking Ozempic. So I don't know, like, you start feeling those usual hunger pangs again, and consequently you may start eating more to satisfy the hunger. This is the problem. Like when you lose so much weight so fast as well, it almost always comes with consequences later. Yeah. Like whether or not you do it without Ozempic, with like, whatever, it's like when you suppress your appetite so much, your body only takes you to a certain level, especially when you lose weight so fast.
I know.
Like,
they say that the healthy amount is like, if you are trying to lose weight, right? Like let's say you're
like
on a pound a week. If that. So like, and that's all like the kind of, I think it's like a pound or 1.5 pounds is the maximum that you should be dropping. So if you're dropping like,
but what if you weigh like a shit ton?
Well, I think that's different. I think it does. It's all relative, right? If I was like 500 pounds,
then you could probably drop like 10 pounds in a week.
You could probably lose a lot. Exactly. Because you start like, but even then I think it would still, this is the thing.
Have you seen 600 Pound Life?
Yeah, I think so. Like a long time ago.
I saw like an episode when I was in Hawaii. When we were hungover.
Patricia loves that show.
Patricia loves that show. So she like put it on and I was like, oh my God, what is the show?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it. And then if you guys don't know the premise, so they feature usually like one person in like an episode or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like 600 pounds.
Yeah.
I think do they have to be 600 pounds to get their surgery?
I think so, or close.
They have to be very close to 600 pounds.
Yeah.
So then they're obviously struggling. There's so many factors that go into people becoming this size.
Yeah.
Usually it's a lot of mental health issues.
Of course, because normally you can gain weight as an individual, right? Like I could, stop going to the gym, eat shit, and I could put on like probably 40 pounds, 50 pounds maybe.
But even that, like...
That's still a lot.
Yeah.
But for me to go past that point, it's a lot more. It's a lot more because it means that you're not doing a lot. Like you're
not moving.
You're not
going
moving.
Outside.
You're probably getting a lot of delivery. Like
you're probably like feeling depressed and you're eating your feelings or whatever. Yeah. So anyways, there's a lot of issues that goes into it. It's very, very sad. Mm-hmm. And so they want to get gastric bypass surgery, right?
Yeah.
That's like the kind of...
Where they like staple your stomach or something,
which
right?
I'm kind of... Yeah. They like basically like shrink your stomach
because I think
make it smaller.
I think what happens over time is like because your stomach is like I don't think it's that
stretches.
Big. Yeah, and if you're constantly eating way too much food, your stomach actually does get bigger, right? Yeah. And I think that's the problem. So they kind of like
try to shrink it to a size that it's like smaller than a normal person's size.
Right?
I think.
Yeah, they do.
So. And there's pros and I think some people say it's like not good. Some people say it's life-saving. And I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
There's, I'm sure, there's issues with it. So essentially they want to get the surgery. It's obviously expensive to get the surgery. So they want to, I think the show like pays for it or whatever.
Yeah.
And they visit this doctor. His name is Dr. Now. And he's like very blunt. He's very much like if you eat this way, then you're going to die. Like,
I said, yeah.
Yeah. And then this was what I thought was crazy. And I think it's insane. Basically, what he does is he meets these people and they're like, okay, he like puts them on like a very, very strict diet.
Yes.
Of 1,000 to 1,200 calories a day. Did you know this? That's insane to me because it's like, I get that they're in a very dangerous situation and they need to lose weight fast. So I understand that. And like, I understand that like, they're in an extreme situation. It's life-threatening.
For sure.
They need to lose it fast. But at the same time, you put some, like, I feel like most people would fail because you're already talking about people that already have like food addiction issues that are eating probably like 5,000, 6,000 calories a day.
Yeah. So for them, 1,000 to 1,200 is probably a meal.
Literal starvation. Yeah. Like for me, 12,000 is too little.
1,200 you mean?
1,200. Yes. Yeah. 1,200 is too little. So it's like for me to eat that, it's like I would also like want to binge. Yeah. I would be hungry. So I can't imagine someone, that is 600 pounds trying to eat that and not wanting to binge. So I don't know. Like I want to see the show to see like what actually happens to these people. I'm like, do they actually succeed in losing the weight? Because I would binge if I was eating that.
That would be so hard.
1,200.
And then I feel like if you start binging, would it reverse the effects of the gastric bypass? Like,
well, I think no. This is what happens. So I think they're given like a month or something, however much time to lose a certain amount of weight.
Yeah.
So then, but because what the doctor wants to do is to make sure that you won't gain the weight back after, because I guess a lot of people do get the surgery
and then gain it,
and then they gain it back because they don't develop these healthy habits. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, 1,200 calories a day is not a healthy habit.
No,
like,
it's not.
Like you can't like. I don't know. Like, it just doesn't really make sense. Like, you'll probably get away with eating 2,000 and you'll still be fine.
Exactly.
And you'll still lose weight.
Yeah. I think, especially if they're eating like 6,000-7,000.
You could eat probably 4,000 and lose weight.
Yeah. Because they were probably, and maybe even more. Like, they would, because I remember I watched this one. It wasn't 600 Pound Life, but it was this lady was talking and she's like talking about what she'd have for dinner. And it would be like a full large pizza. And then on top of it, she'd have like not a piece of cheesecake, but like a whole cheesecake. You know what I mean? Like her dinner alone would be like 4,000 calories.
Exactly.
I was like, that is insane. If I ate that, I would be so sick.
Exactly. They barely move.
Yeah.
So you could just eat, and some people lose like 100 pounds just by like cutting out soda.
Yeah.
Like they just cut out pop and they're like, yeah, I've just dropped 100 pounds.
I know.
So it's like crazy. You don't have to do this extreme
Whereas
thing.
if I cut out pop, I would not drop 100 pounds.
Yeah,
I don't even drink that much pop.
Exactly. And you drink diet soda anyway. So it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't get why he like maybe it's for the show, and maybe he's like testing if they would follow the diet afterwards.
Yeah.
But I'm still like, I don't know. I think you're just setting them up for failure. I don't know. Like,
well, you'll have to update.
I need to watch the show.
I
don't know, but it's like, it's too sad. I don't know if I want to watch it.
Oh God.
I don't know.
That'd be sad as hell.
And he puts them on like a very low carb diet. It's like, egg whites in the morning. And I'm just like, okay, well, I would fucking become 600 pounds.
I know. Because
if I had to put on this type of diet, like, fuck, that's depressing.
Roses.
Anyways, guys, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of the show. Okay. Because I don't know if it is ethical to put these people on such an extreme diet.
I know. It's like The Biggest Loser.
Oh my God, Biggest Loser is even worse. It's like, again, that's another thing, right? If you look at Biggest Loser, like you're right, like they didn't get the gastric bypass, but I can guarantee you, even if they got put on gastric bypass or they got gastric bypass, they would still gain the weight back.
Most of them do because they
all gain the weight back. It's
exactly. It's so extreme. It's so, and a lot of it is like, it's not tackling the mental health side of it. I think this is the big problem with a lot of these shows, like gastric bypass. I haven't seen The Biggest Loser in like years, so I can't remember if they do any like counseling and stuff. I think maybe they do. I can't remember.
Think they really do.
But they focus on diet and exercise, which is important, right? Diet and exercise is very important, but you have to look at the reason why diet is so out of control in the first place. Because eating like an entire large or extra large pizza followed by a cheesecake followed by a milkshake, like that's just not normal, like as an everyday thing.
Yeah.
And I just think there's more going on that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely more going on.
And that's where there needs to be like some, counseling and trying to get to the root of why this person, because obviously they're eating for a reason, and you kind of have to uncover what that is before you can start addressing, once you can feel that, you can hopefully try to,
Yeah. And they all, like almost all of them gain the weight back, if not more.
God dang. Be sad as hell.
Because they're just like, they're doing these extreme things on the show. And when you do extreme things, like it's not going to last.
It's not good. That's again, like losing maybe a pound, 1.5 pounds a week is like the most you should be losing.
For a regular person.
But
yeah.
But I think too, it's like with these, shows, like I don't know. There's like, I'm conflicted about a lot of it, and I just feel like
I know there's ethical issues.
Yeah,
it's a bit shady.
And at the end of the day, we talked about like Matthew Perry and his addiction with like drugs and alcohol. Food is also an addiction. So like some of these people are just addicted to eating. Like they're addicted because you do get a dopamine rush, right? Like if you remember that Super Size Me, where that guy went and ate McDonald's for a month straight, and that's all he ate. And he went through, at first it was fine, but after about the first week, he started to go through insane mood swings and like cravings. And he was like, as I was eating the food, I felt so good and happy and euphoric. And then the second I was done, I felt sick, depressed, like a piece of shit, but I wanted more. And it's that addictive mentality that's like keeps people in that place.
Exactly. Food addiction is a real thing.
God damn.
And imagine having food addiction, because they say food addiction is so difficult because you have to eat, right? It's like, it's not like alcoholism where it's like, I mean, alcoholism is already difficult. Yeah. But it's like, you can avoid alcohol. You don't have to eat. You don't have to consume alcohol. You don't
have to drink. Yeah.
Exactly. Which we should tell ourselves every week.
We should.
We don't have to drink.
We don't have to.
But with food, you have to eat a certain amount at least to survive. So that's what makes it so difficult, because if you have a food addiction, it's like, you have to eat, but it's like you're addicted to it. So like, it would be very hard to stop.
Yeah.
So,
God damn.
Anyway, guys, on that positive note,
we hope you enjoyed this week's episode. We're back. We're both healthy.
I'm not that healthy. I'm a bit sick.
Rose is now sick. Hopefully, I'm not going to get sick. God damn, I'd be scared as hell. We're doing our gift exchange tomorrow. You going to be okay?
God damn, I think I need to rest after these.
I made a reservation.
God damn.
But yeah, if you guys aren't already, check out this video on YouTube. Give this video a thumbs up. Show us some love in the comment section below.
I think I'm going through menopause.
God damn, Rose. Don't forget to hit follow on the podcast platform that you're listening to this on. That way you get updated as soon as there's new content that goes live. And as always, guys, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/the SaVeg podcast for exclusive content and all sorts of ad-free content. Exactly.
We're going to do a special drinking episode for our Patreon exclusive in December. It'll be fun. So join us for that.
And check it out. All right, guys.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.